Stay tuned and let's check out this Marvel Legends The Infinity Saga, Odin. Hello and welcome back to the channel, Dan Who Reviews. As always, my name is Dan W. Make sure you are following me on Instagram at It's Dan Who. And remember, you can now hit that join button and become a channel member as well. Quite simply show some love or join the members club. Much appreciated. Today we continue looking at this Marvel Legends, Marvel Studios, The Infinity Saga lineup. As today we have a character we have needed to fill a gap in our MCU collection for a while. It is of course Thor's father, Odin, who first appeared in the first Thor movie. That's why we get the Thor logo up there at the top. So yes, very happy about this. I love this Infinity Saga lineup where we're getting updates and characters we need to fill gaps within our MCU collection from all the different movies within that epic 23 length Infinity Saga. And yeah, really happy to add Odin to the collection. He comes with two heads. He's in his Asgardian garb, how he first appeared in the first movie, but he looks virtually the same throughout them all as well. And he comes with his spear, interchangeable hands, all that good stuff. But yeah, really liking everything we're getting from the Infinity Saga so far. On the side of the box, we're getting a collage of all the other characters from the Infinity Saga. On the back, we're getting a poster from the first Thor movie. That's what this figure represents. Of course, we get a write-up for Odin that reads: the king of Asgard, protector of the 9 realms, the father of Thor, Odin has learned to appreciate peace over the centuries. Of course, he is also Loki's father, well, adopted father. You know the story. But anyway, let's get him open. And here we have Odin out of the packaging with all of his accessories on the table, which include the interchangeable head. And now that helmet is made of a soft plastic, so you can put that helmet on either head. I'll show you that in a minute. And he comes with 2 interchangeable hands, a fisted hand so he can punch some frost giants, and then another sort of open gesturing hand. But he can hold his staff in either hands, that staff as well. Good job he's holding it because it's sort of helping him stand up. My leg here is a little bit wonky, so that staff is sort of helping him stand. But of course he's wearing the cape, which makes him a little bit back heavy. If I move that there, let's just have a look at height. He is an Asgardian after all, so he is with the helmet to the top of his head about 6.5 inches, but the helmet spikes take him up to about 7 3/4. So yeah, he's a tall guy. He shouldn't be as tall as Thor though, because obviously Anthony Hopkins isn't as tall as Chris Hemsworth. So we shall do some comparisons as we get into it. But first, let's check out this figure. Let's check out this epic helmet because this looks really nice. So this is made of a soft sort of metallic-y gold plastic and it sits over the head, so it is removable. So I can literally take that off and we can have an unhelmeted Odin, and I'll see if this helmet works on both heads. I assume it does, but we'll check that out. We've got the wings on the side. On the back we get some nice sculpted detail on there as well, and then we get those long horns. So there's not really any paint detail. It doesn't need to though, as this is like a metallic-y gold, and as I said, you take that off and it is a soft plastic. You can squeeze that into shape. So I think the likeness to Anthony Hopkins is pretty good, and of course we get 2 head sculpts. This one, he's a bit tired. He wants to retire a king this stage, and you got the eye patch there, the scar above that eye, the beard has some nice wash in it, and the sculpt, and the hair sort of is behind the ears as well, so it doesn't get in the way of the helmet. And you can see you've got that grey hair. It might be fading into my white background. But yeah, I think overall this is a very nice head sculpt. Definitely see Odin in here. And he does have another one. The second head sculpt, again, is pretty good. This time it's a little bit happier to be king. You can see his teeth showing. But other than that, the hair and the beard seem to be very similar. Still got the eye patch, the scar above the eye. And yet again, I think the likeness to Anthony Hopkins is very good. If I remember to in post, I'll try and throw them an image side by side and you can sort of make your own mind up. But I think the likeness is pretty good. But you tell me. The hair sculpt seems the same, but this time his hair is sort of over the ears, and on the previous head sculpt the hair was sort of tucked behind the ears, so maybe that's so the helmet fits on better. So let's try the helmet on this head, and you can fit it on there, but this time it doesn't seem to work. It's like he's got a fatter head, so I don't actually think this second head is meant for the helmet. Side by side they do look like the same proportions, but when you really look at them, I do think the unsmiling head is a little bit thinner and the helmet fits on that one a little bit more. But overall, it's nice to have options. So you have 2 unhelmeted head, and at least you know the helmet works nicely on at least one of them. And yet again, if I remember to throw up an image, you'll see it does look very much like the source material. His whole outfit does, to be fair. So let's take this opportunity to just zoom in and see what we're working with. So he's got this Asgardian stylized armor, which again is very, very nice and very accurate to what we see in the movie. We've got like silvers, sort of a darker silver though, gunmetal if you will, with this sort of bronzy gold effect. Bit more bronzy up here as it hits the cape. And this cloak is attached, unfortunately. So people thinking they can replace this with a soft goods cape, yeah, that would be an option, but you are going to have to slice this off because this cape is attached to the sort of front of the chest, the hip area. This sort of piece here is a separate piece, so it doesn't hinder the articulation. There is a ball joint at the waist, it seems, which is a nice touch. But I like this. Obviously, he's wearing big, bulky Asgardian armor, so I don't mind there's some layers, gives it a bit of depth. So that's pretty good. And again, I like the stylizedness of the Asgardian. The same here on the wrist, you get that nice sort of gauntlet on the forearm, same up here on the shoulder, and this shoulder pad is separate to the body. So if you move the arm up, you can see the shoulder pad's going to spin with it, and it doesn't hinder articulation at all, and it doesn't break up this nice sculpt as well. And there is some nice designs on that. Same with the forearms. You can see those sort of arrowheads on the shoulders are a bit silver compared to the brown texture of the sort of top, the underlayer, if you will. Same going down to the trousers. You can see there is some textured detail on there, some sort of crisscrossy pattern. Moving down to the boots, which are very nice. No gold or bronze on these though, just that silver sort of highlight. But again, the boots are nicely sculpted, and I do believe this is all brand new sculpt. And if I spin it around, you'll see his cape is all red, sort of flowing to one side if you will. You can sort of see it draped over this shoulder, not so much this shoulder, which is fine because obviously you have room then for this hand to hold his spear. But the cape is a nice sort of soft plastic. You can sort of bend it, manipulate it, but he is sort of meant to be posed in a sort of regal stance with his spear. But if you want to replace that, I'm sure you can. As I said, you're just going to have to cut that. His spear is all one plastic colour, sort of this goldy metallic, and there is some nice sculpted details on there, but they're not painted, but you can still see it nicely done. It's all just one moulded plastic piece, but it works for its purpose, which is to go of course in Odin's hand, and he does have holding in hands of course. So now we can have Odin looking very regal, holding his spear as he should, and I think this is very nicely done, very accurate from the source material. That's the advantage of doing the Marvel Legends 11 years after he first appeared in the MCU. They have no excuse, and to be fair, I think they have completely nailed it. So whether you want him with his helmet off, or you want him smiling with the alternative head, of course you have options. He does come with this sort of hand to hold the spear. This hand is a bit more gesturing, if you will, so we can sort of point orders and commands at Odin and Thor, well, Loki and Thor, but he does have two interchangeable hands, so let's check them out. So we get a fisted hand and then another hand to hold the spear. So he does have a hand for either side, so you can choose which way he wants to hold the spear. Either way works, but you get the gesturing hand or the fisted hand. You have options. So yeah, that looks pretty good. In regards to articulation, just while we're here, as I said, he is on a waist joint, so you do get a bit of movement back and forth, but probably not as much as an ab crunch would. But I actually prefer that because you don't break up the nice design of his armor. Arms, no a problem at all, going up to 90. As I said, the shoulder pad will move out the way, and a double jointed elbow. It's going to be a little bit more difficult on this side because the cape sort of drapes over, but it will move up and out the way, so you can still get this arm up to 90 and articulate and bend. There is a swivel up there as well above the elbow. You can swivel at the waist, of course. There's a swivel at the top of the thigh. The legs go out that much. They go forward pretty good, to be fair. Back, okay. Double jointed knees, your nice ankle rocker, and a pivot as well. So again, for a character like Odin, I think you've got plenty of motion there. You've got a ball joint at the neck and the head, so you've got plenty of range down and up. Again, this crown's in the way, of course, but the hair obviously is going to get in the way against that cape. But my point is, it's Odin. You're going to want him looking regal with his crown and his spear, standing there controlling Asgard as the king. And yeah, long live the king. Diving into comparisons, of course, the first one had to be the almighty Thor. And if you've been collecting MCU Legends for any amount of time, then you are definitely going to have options when it comes to Chris Hemsworth's Thor. And here we have a few on the table. So we've got the Ragnarok, we've got the Infinity War, and I think this is the Age of Ultron 4-pack version. Either way, this is a nice sort of example that Chris Hemsworth, of course, towers over Anthony Hopkins, as he should, and I think that dynamic works really well. Here we have him compared to his other son, Loki, and again, we have options when it comes to Loki. Not as many as Thor, but still options. Here we have the Infinity War Loki, and then we have the more classic look looking Loki from the Walmart exclusives. I got mine from the Best of Avengers wave here in the UK. Either way, that's the most accurate version of the original looking Loki that we have in Marvel Legends form. No digital face print in tech, unfortunately, but I do think the likeness is okay and the crown sort of makes up for it. Anyway, here he is next to Daddy, Odin, and yeah. I think the height difference, not as tall as Chris Hemsworth, but I think this guy's a little bit shorter than he should be, to be honest. But I like this height difference. I think these two work. Moving back to Thor real quick, I do think the best pairing in regards to the most screen accurate pairing of Thor and Odin is this Thor from the Marvel Studios 10th anniversary set that came with Lady Sif. I do think these two match up the best on screen. And going back to that picture I showed you earlier, in figure form, I don't think it looks too bad either. As you can see, smiling Odin there, and then you get Thor and Loki in the back. I do think that's a pretty good pairing. And for one last Loki comparison, here we have the Disney Plus TVA uniform Loki, and Morbius, of course, compared to Odin. And when given the opportunity, I always like to do an MCU versus comic comparison. So here we have the 2015 All-Father Build-A-Figure, which is essentially Odin compared to our MCU version. And you can see where the similarities are. The staffs are quite similar in design, same as the helmets. You've got the beard, you've got the Asgardian drapes. However, the comic one towers over the MCU one, but you can still see where the influence is pulled from. And then finally, here we have our MCU Odin compared to our Marvel Legends Captain Britain and Hal Fire Hank. So, final thoughts, I'm honestly really happy with this MCU Odin. We can't ask for much more, to be honest, when it comes to an action figure. This is really good representation, an accurate representation of Anthony Hopkins' portrayal of Odin as we see him in the first Thor movie. And yeah, we get options as well. The crown comes off, of course, you get the two heads, we get his spear, a couple of gesturing hands. He's going to look nice posed up on the shelf with some of our MCU Asgardians, which is, of course, Loki, Thor, and I think we've got Lady Sif as well. So yeah, I will find a spot for him. He is definitely a character, a gap we needed represented in plastic on the shelf. So I'm very happy with it. He's single packed as well, so he'll be easy to get. And yeah, I would definitely recommend adding Odin to your MCU display if you love the MCU. As it's Odin, it's Thor's father, for God's sake. You need him in the collection. But you let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, are you going to try and replace that cape with a sort of more dynamic cloth goods cape maybe? I know people like doing that. Let me know if you're going to try it in the comments below. As always, curious to hear your thoughts. But most importantly, if you like Marvel Legends, then you're in the right place. If you like Marvel Legends, then you're in the right place. And please, please, please hit that subscribe button. Much appreciated. You can also hit that join button and become a channel member as well. Quite simply show some love or join the members club. Much appreciated. You can follow me on Instagram at It's Dan Who. And I'm on Twitter as well at Dan Who Reviews. And as always, people, my name is Dan W. And I will, of course, see you on the next one.